A voice cuts through the silence, calm but heavy, almost a whisper. They say some men are born to fade, and some are born to last forever. The words hang in the air as the figure disappears into a narrow alley, leaving only the sound of distant footsteps and the faint clink of metal. Shadows stretch unnaturally, crawling along brick walls as if alive, reacting to the unseen man who walks among them. A dripping gutter reflects dim light, and a stray newspaper flutters across the street, revealing headlines about gang wars, betrayals, and whispered rumors. The voice continues, each word slow, deliberate. This is not a story of a man who dies, but of a man who cannot die. A man who moves through time, untouched by bullets, by fire, by betrayal. Untouchable, unstoppable. The scene shifts rapidly, almost like glimpses of memory rather than real time. Rain splashes over the cobblestones as a shadow crosses the frame, moving with grace, never hurried, always controlled. A bottle smashes somewhere in the distance, glass scattering like broken promises. Yet the figure does not flinch, does not break stride. The camera catches hands, tightly wrapped around a coat collar, then flicks to the edge of a blade glinting under a gas lamp. There is power in this presence, raw and undeniable, yet carefully hidden. Like a storm contained behind calm eyes, the voiceover leans closer, drawing the audience into the legend. You think you've seen strength. You think you've seen courage. But you've never met him. Not yet. A sudden gust of wind sweeps through the street, scattering leaves and ash into the air. Smoke and mist twist together, creating illusions of faces that disappear as quickly as they appear. The camera closes in on a hand resting casually on a table outside a closed pub, fingers brushing the edge of a glass filled with amber liquid. A faint tremor of anticipation, a moment of quiet before inevitable chaos. The voice continues, a slow, deliberate cadence, almost teasing. Every street he walks, every alley he passes, carries the weight of stories you can't begin to imagine. Every whisper in the dark, every shadow on the wall is a warning, a reminder, a sign that he has been here before, and he will be here again. The fog thickens, obscuring the horizon, and the camera follows the figure from behind, keeping his identity hidden. A distant train whistles through the night, echoing like a ghost through empty streets. The sound blends with the pounding of an unseen drum, a rhythm that feels like destiny itself moving forward. The voice pauses, letting silence fill the frame. For just a heartbeat, long enough for tension to squeeze tightly around the audience. And yet, the world goes on, unaware of the man who walks among them, the man who cannot die. Until now. Lights flicker one last time. A shadow stretches across a wall, elongated and menacing. The figure pauses, glances into the darkness, and then moves on, leaving only the echo of boots against stone. The camera lingers on the empty street, rain dripping from roofs, puddles reflecting distant lamplight, until the frame fades into smoke and shadow. The final words resonate like a promise, setting the stage for everything to come. Meet Duke Shelby, the Immortal Man. The legend begins tonight. The streets of Birmingham are alive with whispers. But one presence commands the silence. The camera glides over rain-soaked cobblestones, catching fleeting reflections of gas lamps, and slowly follows a figure whose movements are deliberate, measured, almost ceremonial. Hands slide into pockets, fingers brushing the worn leather of a coat, a subtle gesture of control. Boots hit the pavement with quiet authority, each step echoing like a warning through the empty streets. Smoke from a nearby chimney curls into the night air, twisting and bending around the figure, almost as if acknowledging his dominance over the shadows. A dim light catches the edge of a cap, worn but precise, signaling an attention to detail that borders on ritualistic. The voiceover cuts in, calm, unyielding, resonant. Duke Shelby isn't like the rest. Every move he makes, every alley he crosses, carries the weight of a man who has survived everything the world could throw at him. He doesn't just walk through Birmingham. He owns it. The camera shifts to a close-up of a hand resting on the railing of a narrow bridge, knuckles white, yet relaxed a silent tension that hints at power coiled beneath restraint. Shadows from nearby buildings stretch unnaturally across the ground, following the figure like loyal servants. The ambient noise of distant voices, the clatter of horses, and faint shouts from crowded pubs all fade, leaving him almost entirely in his own realm. The scene moves into a quiet back alley, crates stacked, haphazardly, water dripping from the roof onto wooden barrels. Duke Shelby's gloved fingers brush the edge of a table, revealing scattered coins and folded notes, a subtle reminder of the empire he commands. The camera pans upward, catching silhouettes of gang members pausing, watching from above. There is fear here, but it's not blind terror. It's respect carved from years of survival, battles, and unspoken rules. The voiceover continues, deliberate, drawing the audience closer. People speak of him in hushed tones, not because he demands it, but because history has taught them that disrespect has a cost. And Duke Shelby always collects. A fleeting shot captures a broken window reflecting the dim light of a distant street lamp. Duke passes by, unnoticed, yet the world reacts to him. A stray dog pauses mid-step, ears tilting toward the quiet command in the air. Leaves swirl in the breeze, following his path, and the camera lingers on subtle details. The tip of a knife tucked into a coat, the faint scars on hands that have known violence, the deliberate motion of adjusting a cigarette just before lighting it. The voice draws attention to these moments, every detail, every gesture, a message. He moves without fear, yet every eye that sees him knows exactly what he is capable of. Every alley, every tavern, every corner of Birmingham feels his presence. The camera cuts to a montage of hands opening ledgers, tracing maps, and rearranging symbols on tables. Plans unfold like chess moves, each more intricate than the last. The voice continues, steady and intense. He's not just a man of action. He's a man of strategy. Every enemy, every rival, every shadow that dares to challenge him falls into a game they don't even realize they're playing. And Duke Shelby, he's always 3 steps ahead. Raindrops patter against the cobblestones, bouncing rhythmically, like the ticking of a clock measuring his patience. A brief glimmer of a blade, hands adjusting a cuff, boots stepping over puddles, each shot carefully curated to suggest power without showing the face. Keeping the mystery alive, the alley widens, revealing a distant pub with a dim red light glowing through the windows. Voices rise and fall inside, laughter, murmurs, the clinking of glasses. The camera circles the exterior, catching Duke's shadow stretching long across the wet stone. The voiceover pauses, letting tension breathe. You don't meet him and forget. You don't glimpse him and remain unchanged. The moment he enters a room, or even a street, the world bends slightly, quietly, in his direction. That is the mark of Duke Shelby. Not all legends are written in books. Some are carved into the very air you breathe. Finally, the camera lingers on a pair of boots pausing at the edge of the street, reflecting the glow of lamplight in puddles. Fingers lightly trace the edge of a coat, cigarette smoke curling upward like a halo of quiet menace. The voiceover lands with gravity, power, patience, precision. That is Duke Shelby. He does not need to announce himself. The city already knows, and those who think they can challenge him soon discover that immortality is not just a story. It is a warning. The night air carries a cold bite, thick with fog that rolls over the uneven streets of Birmingham like a living tide. Every lamplight flickers, casting long, fractured shadows, and the city itself seems to hold its breath as Duke Shelby moves. Through it, the camera tracks low, almost grazing the cobblestones, capturing reflections of boots, puddles, and a brief flash of something metallic tucked into his coat, a hint of danger, of history. Each step he takes is deliberate, measured, and yet effortless, as though he has walked these streets 1,000 times before. The voiceover begins, quiet but loaded with awe. Some men leave marks on the world. Others leave marks on time itself. Duke Shelby, he belongs to the latter. Stories of him stretch across decades, whispered in shadows, written in scars, etched into memory. A sudden drizzle begins, rain tapping softly against windows, sliding down brick walls, dripping into dark alleys. The camera glides past shattered crates and broken bottles, remnants of conflicts long past, and pauses on a hand tracing the edge of an old map pinned to a wall. The map is dotted with notes, scribbles, and red circles marking territory, history, and perhaps vengeance.